Today's video is sponsored by Squarespace. Hello everyone and welcome to another plan with me. I haven't done one of these in a very long time. I think the last one I did was actually in November, so I am super excited to be bullet journaling again and setting up my March spread, as well as a couple planning pages. And I'm also going to be setting up my January and February spreads as well, because I really want to journal in them and I want to kind of keep all my memories there, even though I didn't bullet journal in those months. I still have a lot of memories that I want to write down and put photos in for. So yeah, we're going to be setting up my January spread first, and I'm going to take out my watercolor paper. I usually use the Canson watercolor paper. It's kind of my go-to. And then I'm going to be getting out my watercolor tubes, and I'll show you guys the two colors that I'm going to be using for this spread in a second, but I'm just so excited to be dipping into these again. It's been way too long. And then I'm just gonna get out a pencil. This is my favorite pencil, and my eraser and ruler, and then a few paintbrushes. And all that's left to do now is get a clean bowl of water, and I'm pretty much ready to go. So since this table is new, it's our new dining table that we just got, and I don't want to mess it up, so I'm going to put down some craft paper so that I don't get any paint on it. And I'm going to get out my Cotman watercolors from Winsor & Newton. I'm using the colors Indigo and Payne's Gray, and these are my two favorite colors in the Winsor & Newton watercolor line. And I'm going to mostly be going in with Payne's Gray, and if you guys have seen my videos over the years, you know this is one of my go-to colors that I use. It's just such a nice mix between a dark gray and a indigo. It's just such a beautiful color. But I put a few layers of that down and let it dry, and now I'm going in with a pencil and I'm just drawing these little stars. This is definitely going to be the more simple spread that I do throughout this video, but sometimes the simple spreads are what I enjoy the most. So yeah, I'm just going to go in with my little quickie glue pen, and this is going to be for the embossing that I'm about to do. A lot of the time I never know what to use my embossing tool for. I do a ton of custom journals with it in my shop, and I do some of my own embossing on my journals, but I never put it on artwork of any kind. So I kind of wanted to do that and try it out. But I'm just taking my gold embossing powder by Ranger, I believe, and I'm just placing it on all of the parts that had the glue, and I'm going to shake all the excess off, and then I'm going to take out my Paper Source embossing tool, and I'm going to let it heat up for a second and go in with it. And this is my favorite thing to do. I think it's so pretty, watching the powders turn to this shiny gold color. I think it's so satisfying, and the gold embossing powder is so much more shiny than a normal gold pen would do. So I just love how it looks. And I'm gonna do kind of the same sort of thing on the bottom, and I kind of also wanted to add some little dots all over for teeny tiny stars in the background, and then I'll just heat it up like I did before. And voila, that is the final embossed painting, and I specifically made this to put it in a frame and hang it up right next to a big window that I have in my new apartment. I can totally see the shine of all of the stars all the way from the other side of the room. So I'm super excited to just have that hanging up in my apartment. And I'm going to print out the scan of the painting, and I put the little January calendar on it. And the embossing actually got picked up in the texture on my scanner, so I really like how it turned out, even though it doesn't have the shine on it. But I still love the shine, so I'm probably honestly going to go back in later and add it with either my embossing tool or a gold pen. But yeah, this one is going to be going into this spread, and I'm just going to take my Tombow mono adhesive tape and paste that in. All right, so now moving on to February, I'm just going to keep a few pages in between for all of my January spreads that I'm going to do later, but I'm going to be doing a kind of desert sun theme for February. So I'm just going to get out another piece of watercolor paper and I'm going to sketch out kind of what I want to do. And I'm going to bring out my Liquitex Basics, and these are acrylic paints. So I wanted something more textured and saturated in color for this painting, so I decided to go with my acrylics. Another thing that would work is oil paints, but oil paints take a long time to dry, so I just decided to go with these. And I got these over the month of December, and I was doing a bunch of like little mini canvas paintings, and I have just been having so much fun with acrylics lately. All the acrylics that I've had in the past were very like cheapo acrylics, so they didn't like have saturated colors like this before. So I was just really excited to finally do a painting with them. And for this color in the background, I'm going in with like this light tan color, and I'm just mixing those together to do my background. In the bottom, I'm going to take different variations of this tan color and kind of do some like dunes in the front. And I really want all of the colors to be very muted and colors that are almost clay-like. That's what I was kind of trying to go for with the color scheme. And what's awesome about acrylics is if you put a color down that you don't really like or something you kind of want to change, it's very easy to just override it and put another layer on top of a totally different color. So I always recommend acrylics as like a way to start out with painting for the first time. But everyone is different, and for me, watercolors is definitely more difficult to work with, even though I love it so much. I personally was drawn to watercolor simply because my grandpa is a watercolor artist, and I just grew up seeing his paintings and watching him paint. So for me, that was the ultimate goal for me, to kind of learn that craft. And although it came a lot more difficult to me, I felt a connection to it that I didn't really have with some of the other forms of painting. So that's kind of why I do a lot of watercolor paintings for all my spreads, if you guys have noticed over the years. But I am trying to branch out and try new things like acrylics and oil paints. It's always fun to branch out a little bit. So now I'm just going in and drawing her little face, and I messed her face up quite a few times and I had to go over it with paint. But I don't know, there's something about faces that has always been hard for me to perfect, especially like the mouth area is just really hard for me. So I have to do it like quite a few times before I get it right. That's why you guys don't see me really painting people or drawing people, is because I just get so uncomfortable. Like, I was thinking while I was doing this painting, a really fun thing that I could maybe do in a video is practice drawing people for a whole day. So I saw this video and I can't remember who it was, but basically she spent a whole day. And when I say she painted all day, I literally mean she painted from the time she woke up to the time she went to bed. So I don't know, I thought that would be kind of a fun challenge to do, just to force myself to try and attempt to draw people. But anyways, this is how my final painting turned out. I really loved the colors. I just wanted to keep it simple for January and February, But like I said before, sometimes the simple paintings that I do end up being some of my favorites. So I'm definitely gonna hang her up in my apartment. And I am just printing out the print version of the painting, and I actually ended up having to do a ton of different color adjustments because for some reason my printer is so picky about warm toned colors and it doesn't really print them exactly how I need them to. So I always go in Lightroom and adjust all of the colors each time before I print any prints out. Usually blue colors are totally fine and I don't have to make many adjustments, but warm toned colors are definitely like really difficult to get that same color with on my printer. But yeah, I'm just pasting both of them in, and this is the final spread. Alright, so now on to the last monthly spread in this video. I'm going to do my March spread, and what I really want to do for this spread is do a kind of meadow theme, and this is kind of going to be inspired a little bit by a meadow painting that I did last year. I believe it was my February spread. Last year I used, I believe it was gouache to do the painting, and this time I want to do a take on it with acrylics. And it's also going to be kind of inspired by this game that I've been playing. I think the app is called The Trail, I want to say, and basically you're just like hiking through the forest and the mountains, and it's just super relaxing and zen. But the artwork in it is so beautiful, so I just kind of wanted to do a painting inspired by that game. So I'm starting off with a wash of this kind of purpley gray for the sky, and then I just did some very quick non-detailed clouds, and now I'm just going in with this blue color for the mountains, and I kind of figured it was a little too blue. It didn't really match the sky, so I'm adding a little bit of purple and some white accents for the shadowing. And I'm honestly not going to be too detailed with this painting. I just kind of want it to look like a messy meadow, and so I'm just kind of going in very quickly with all these paints, and I'm not trying to spend too much time on a certain area. And on the left side, I'm going to do a bunch of trees, and whenever I do trees with acrylics or oil paints, I try to kind of imagine that I'm transformed into Bob Ross in the moment, and I'm trying to kind of use his techniques for painting his happy little trees. I grew up watching him as a kid, and so I just always love to take those techniques that I've learned from him over the years and put that into my paintings, like how he does all the highlights in the trees, and it just kind of like makes the painting totally just come alive. And to really get those pops of vibrancy and the highlights popping through, I think that oil paints are definitely the way to go for this kind of painting, but I am just not patient enough for oil paints. So the drying time is like 3 to 5 days, and I just am way too impatient for that. So acrylics are the next best thing. But now I'm just going in and I'm going to make my little trail, and I'm trying to make it seem like the trail is going a long ways into the rolling hills. And then I'm just adding a bunch of texture to the bottom and kind of making the front a little bit darker, since that's kind of like the foreground of our painting. So I'm adding a bunch of little details to the grass, and then I'm going to go in with a very small brush to do a bunch of flowers. I love adding little flowers to my meadows, so I am really going in with the flowers in the foreground, and I'm just taking like a light lilac-ish white color. And I wanted to make it more vibrant, so I am adding a bunch of like oranges and pinks and purples, and then I'm going to add some more like highlights with a brighter white color. And this painting, I'm kind of going in without a set idea of what I wanted to paint or what the scene looked like. My last meadow painting, I based it off of a photo that I took in Yosemite. I think it's so much fun to recreate those photos, but I think there's something really special about not having a photo that you're kind of basing your painting off sometimes, and instead just kind of letting your imagination and your mind kind of flow freely. And a lot of the time you'll go into a painting thinking you're doing one thing and it comes out a completely different way, which is kind of how this painting turned out actually. It definitely came out a lot different than when I pictured it at first in my mind, but I actually ended up liking this even more. So I definitely want to do more of those landscape paintings where I don't have a specific reference photo, just to kind of let my mind flow freely. But yeah, now that this painting is done, I'm going to scan it, put a little calendar on it, and paste it into my journal. And I love all the details that the scan was able to capture. That's what I love about acrylics. You can really see the texture in it. And I made this little important dates calendar to go with it, just using the sky that I used in my painting. And I'm just gonna paste that in, and this is the final spread. So from here, I'm just going to do a weekly spread setup, and I'm really excited to use these new washi tapes I got from Stellar, which is Jordan Clark's little shop. She listed these on her site like the exact week that I literally ran out of all of my washi tapes, so I was so excited to get them. And then I just pasted in some scraps from the craft paper that I was painting on earlier, and then I cut out one of the suns from one of the prints that didn't turn out the exact color that I wanted. And I love it so much as kind of like a sticker idea that I might make a new die cut sticker pack with her in there. And then I'm gonna take my starry cursive craft paper sticker pack, and I'm just going to paste those in for the days of the week. And the spread is going to be kind of just like a bunch of different scraps of things that I find around, and also just a bunch of stickers that I had laying around. But yeah, all of the stickers that I have, that big stack that you saw, are just like reject stickers that I wasn't able to send out to people just because they had minor issues. So I always use them just so they don't go to waste, or I'll like create these little grab bags with all of them every once in a while. But yeah, this is the final spread. I didn't do much planning yet because I don't really know how I want to start planning in this journal. Maybe I'll kind of create a video of common planning pages that I'll be using, but I haven't really figured it out yet. Until then, I want to thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And before I go, I want to talk about Squarespace, who I kind of showed you guys a little snippet of me setting up my first website with them in my last video, and I think they are awesome because they offer an all-in-one platform where you can do things like host your own shop, and Squarespace is used for all different kinds of creatives and people such as musicians, designers, artists, restaurants. So if you guys are thinking of making your own website, you can go to squarespace.com/jennyjournals to get a free trial and 10% off your first purchase. And that is the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I can't wait to start journaling again and getting back into things. So yeah, I hope to see you guys in the next video.